record. There we go. So I think Ashley and I can both kind of relate to what you're saying on the Keller thing and the burnt out. And I think it's almost, well, we know it's mindset, and it comes from our programming, and we want to do the right thing. So when I was a team leader at KW, I came out to California 9 years ago to open up this luxury office here in Laguna Beach. And when I was leaving, I kind of was guilted into, you're still going to get profit share from this office. You don't want to destroy it. You don't want to go after agents. All these things were told to me. And don't call them. And then I felt very guilty because I had recruited all these people to Keller Williams. And now I'm in the mindset of, oh, don't believe anything I told you before. You got to come to this new place because it's greater and better. And, forget about profit share. It's really rev share. So I kind of felt like you did with the black eye a little bit. And I cocooned. And I didn't believe in myself that I was reputable. I felt that people were going to say to me, oh, well, you've been at Keller Williams for 16 years and you bled red. And then all of a sudden you found something new. Are you just chasing that,
How far between the time that you left KW and started recruiting with EXP though?
Well, that's the thing. I wanted to, and I didn't. I took one of the top producers right away, came with me. Okay. But there was so much propaganda in the office that I was exhausted. Yeah. And I was doubting myself. So all this is all coming to mindset and self-talk, guys. And then I'm a very loyal person. So I felt loyalty to this old brokerage that I had just built up. So whatever it is, we all feel that way. And then COVID hit.
Yeah. No, I sold my office in 2005. So, and then I stayed with KW for at least 3-5 years. And then went on my own because I still believed in KW and I still was sending people to KW. And I tried to help them to open the new office they opened. But for some reason, the regional owners did not want to have me involved because my office had, Don Yoakum bought my office and I didn't know he had his accident. And I asked him when I saw him at EXP Con, I said, what happened? He said, did you not know I had an accident? I said, no. And then, 2008 hit. So I think that is one of the reasons, but the team leader I had there didn't understand a balance sheet, didn't understand an income statement. And she would say, right, you have all these items here that you have all these expenses built in here. I said, yeah, but look at the top number. You have to have the revenue before you spend the money that's built in the budget. And she didn't get that. So, but anyway, so long story short, I cocooned and then COVID hit. And so I have been inside the shell for many years. And I just made it my mission this year to go out, rekindle with clients I haven't spoken to in a long time. Some of them have gone on and bought properties without me, which shocked the hell out of me because some were like, I was giving birth and showing one of them a property. I'm like, you'd think they'd get loyalty by that, but so it's all in let it go, and just go start anew. And when I start calling people about the mastermind, I said, hey, this is my mission this year to reconnect, and how about we get together and collaborate? And to my surprise, Friday afternoon seemed to be a very good time to call people. And I had all these people say yes. I was like, wow. And they came, and then we just chatted, and it was like old friends. And we're going on our 4th one next month. And
your 4th mastermind. That's incredible.
And the key now is to stay connected in between. And so I'm inviting them to the masterclass today for luxury. I'm connecting them with the Sean Schwarmer event we're having with Epic. So I don't want to over drip, but I shared Phil's tips. Carrie Suave, if you don't know her, she's an incredible EXP agent who does social media with AI, and you might want to consider having her on your Wake Up Wednesday because she's one of us, and she teaches all over to other companies. And I came across, she's in the Elevate training that is at the university. So the mastermind has been awesome in getting to know new people, because people are now inviting other people. And
So
that's
what do you
a great
talk about?
message. Pardon?
Run through, give us how it starts, because a lot of people here are like, okay, she's doing a mastermind, but how does she actually do it? So walk us through the whole thing.
I booked a restaurant for during happy hour. They have a back room, and they agreed to give us a special menu because usually they don't for that room. And at first I had a lender come in and, cover the food. And I said, everybody should cover their alcohol and drinks. And then I covered it first time. And so I had the speaker. So I did an agenda, send the email. Even though I had it done on Eventbrite, I still want to send an email, and talked about it, created a QR code for the event registration, and just put some topics. And the first topic, of course, of everybody's interest is the NAR settlement and buyer representation. And I said, guys, I've been doing this for 20 years. It's not hard. You just have to have the mindset that you can have a contract between you and the buyer. And the little twist is now you're going to tell them they need to pay you. Well, you don't work for free, do you? So, and now we're getting a little kink because the Justice Department put a halt on the California Association of Realtors releasing their documents because they want to review everything. And one of the people in the mastermind is on the board of our association and our California Association and National Association of Realtors. And I mentored her. She used to be my assistant. So it's kind of cool to see her, blossom. And she talks about it. She says, oh, Samia trained me. She was pretty hard, but she trained me really good. So a lot of people with whom I started 30 some years ago are still there. And so the relationships are coming back, and the topics, I try not to leave the topic just the NAR settlement, because I want this to continue to grow, and I think other people do as well. So we're discussing global marketing, which is broker agnostic. And because we're making changes there, I haven't brought it in further. But talking about AI, talking about, all kinds of, asking them, what do you want to talk about? Because this last meeting, I said, this is your meeting. This is not me meeting. This is not Samia's meeting. This is your meeting. So give me ideas of what you want to cover. And, that's going a little bit, they all want to do more for the NAR settlement. We want to do role play and all that. So I talk about luxury. I talk about, we just talk about all these things. I suggest these things and they all seem, yeah. So I'm still trying to get them to take ownership of the group. But the fact that they're telling their friends to join, to me, is a huge sign. And they're not inviting new people. And I want to have a mix, because I told them we need to bring the new people into our world and teach them how to do things better. And they all love that. Because we all get people who just DocuSign and send you an offer without even talking to you, which is crazy. So we have a nice mix of veterans and newbies. And to me, a newbie is somebody who's been in there 5 years or less. To me, is a newbie. But that's how it's been going. And the energy from that is really fun because I'm not a high I person like you, Peggy. I'm an
No,
introvert.
me never.
And I'm a high D, high C person. If you don't know the DISC personality, I suggest you look those up. But I come out of my shell for that meeting.
Hmm.
So we've
So
had insurance broker come, which is a big deal in California, especially to, and that was super well respected and accepted. We're not recording our meetings, and I wish I had recorded his conversation because that was amazing. Okay, I'll
So
shut up.
what I hear you say, no, I love it because what I hear you saying that everyone could do. And when
Yep.
one of the scripts, I hate using the word script, but one of the phone calls that I would have is just picking up the phone and calling some agents who had maybe just got a listing or who had closed something
Yep.
and just starting a conversation with them.
Yep.
Being myself, my high I obviously comes out. But if you're not a high I person and you're not used to making phone calls, call them up and say, I saw your listing. I'm so excited for you. I know listings are difficult or it's a great listing. Listen, I'm putting together a mastermind group and I'm contacting a couple of people just like yourself. We need listings. Love to talk to you. Would you want to be one of our speakers at the mastermind? If you lead with a compliment
Mhm.
in your conversation
Yeah, that's a good
and
one.
know what you're talking about, make sure you know their listing. Make sure you know have looked it up. See if they have any other listings. Talk to them about that. Talk to them. The NAR thing, guys, is the slippery slope. I'm going to be honest with you. Unless you are 100% sure about what you're talking about, please don't talk about it
Oh,
because
yeah.
you don't want to get a reputation of, well, EXP doesn't know what they're talking about type of thing, or you as an agent. But it's great to get a local person who does know and do a mastermind around that. So you can do a mastermind around listings. You can do a mastermind around luxury. You can just say, hey, let's get together and share our listings. So how many of you have pitch where you all get together, share your listings? Do any of you?
Not
So
anymore.
Peggy, I did. And I need to do more of it. Now that you're talking about it, it's like, oh man, I don't know why I dropped doing it, but I would get these flyers that would say, okay, I have an open house for either maybe a broker open, and I'd call them and I'd go, hey, I want to know more about your listing. And in fact, I really want to come to your open house. And so the one time I ended up doing that, um, I couldn't go. I got sick. And so I called him the next week and said, I am so sorry I missed your open house. I still want to see the house because it's one that's down the street from me.
mhm.
And he was like, hey, come on, I'll give you a private showing. So I went and he gave me a private showing. And I invited him also to one of our events that we had going on local.
Mhm.
And he and I made a connection because he's also German, and my kids went to Germany. Well, I had two of them that went to Germany for exchange students. So we had a few things that we could talk about. And then I started sharing what EXP could do on the German side to help him in his business. And that's where it started. But it all started with that open house for brokers and then not going, but calling him and following up. And
Mhm.
he did sign up and his wife signed up. And just this last week, they signed somebody up. So I have one person in my organization that I didn't, bring in. So
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah, so
Great.
I need to do more of that. I'm not doing that, but I'm also not at the same level as Semi is I am organizing my mastermind, but it's going to be on Zoom. And it's going to be all realtors that I've met through the, course of activities or
Mhm.
ones that I've been in transactions with. So since I'm training and since I'm, coaching, mentoring, I'm going from that angle of it. And I hope I get people in it. I probably won't have the same number that you do, Samia, but
Uh,
I'll
uh,
try.
Hey,
Stacy,
hey,
time
hey,
out.
hey, hey. Anybody showing up is great, you know?
One
Right.
Start with a number and then the word spreads. And I have 60 some people on the email list and only 10 to 12 show up.
Yeah. Right.
It's and then people I've been going to more tours and I do open houses. We have twilight open houses. So people are hosting open houses on Thursday or Friday night. And I found these to be magical in terms of the connection you make with the agent.
Mhm.
And it's fun. I mean, some people have, one person had a band. I'm like, whoa, that's
Yep. That's
pulling out all the stops, right?
Yep.
Um, but it's a great way to connect and show support and compliment. Like Peggy said, I find people who email listings, I found a couple that I thought had amazing listings or looked great in their pictures. So I complimented them. And one of them I actually went to visit a little open house because I knew she wasn't going to get a lot of people because it was a condo and it was very far away. But doing the compliments is so good because we don't get enough of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And people love it when you're paying attention to them. And I found one in Sonoma, which is 2 hours from me. And it turns out she works in the San Francisco office at Sotheby's. So, you know, certainly a reachable person. So I love what you said about the connection with Germany because you find something that is of interest to them and you
Right.
connect. Not it's not about us. It's about
Right.
Mhm.
I want to jump in on the compliment thing. I preach about this in some of the demos that I do, and I think being at EXP, this is even more important for your retention. And when you, I don't know if y'all have heard me say this, but your organizations are as if you have a brokerage within a brokerage. I think I talked about that last week with Jean, right? You have the opportunity to build your own brokerage. You don't have to do a capital investment. You're responsible for leases or staff or payroll or any of those things, but you have to treat it like a business.
Yeah.
And so this organization that you're building with these agents that, Stacy, you don't know that person that got brought in. And so you
Right.
have to work extra hard to keep them there. And it doesn't
Yep.
matter if they're in your level 1, 2, or 7, you have to have a system. You have to have a way to recognize them because the most likely they're not going to be number 1 producer. So they're not going to get recognized from the leadership board that corporate has, which is amazing. That's great. But think about what people love in a traditional brokerage. They love coming into the office. They love getting their piece of paper every month, right? They love getting their award. They love getting seen and all those things. And so one of the things that I've had an aha on this year that's working really well for agents that I work with is instead of just going and sending a text message saying happy birthday or happy anniversary or congrats on your closing last week, right? That's awesome. It's better than nothing. So if you're doing nothing, at least send them a text, okay? But they're the only person who sees that. So cool, they feel seen. But if you would just switch that and go post on their Facebook or their Instagram or whatever and tag a few other people, now all of their peers are seeing that recognition. Right? Now, all of a sudden, their ego's being stroked. That is the extra mile that they're not getting from their current broker, right? They're not, whether it's EXP or not, but for EXP agents, you need to be doing this for your organization because this is the retention. This is the relationship. This is what matters to them and why they will leave. And so if you go in and somebody on your level 7 or your level 4 or whatever has a closing last month and you see that you got paid rev share on it last month, then you should go do a post and or even do it on your page and tag them. So they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know Stacy existed because she's in my upline. But I'm being recognized and seen. And now all of my peers know that I'm being recognized and seen by this person. That will go much further, faster, and longer than the text message or the phone call or even the DM that you're sending right now, or you're not doing any of those things. And so that's kind of been my biggest, you know, nugget this year, is retraining people to go, hey, take advantage of the free social media opportunities that you have. And whether it's the new listing that they took last week that you saw in MLS, or whatever it is, anything you can do to recognize them is going to help you with retention and retaining the agents that we already have, but also recognizing agents that aren't there yet, because they're not getting those touches. They're not getting that, oh my gosh, my broker tagged me and everybody knows that I won the award last week, or I got a new listing last week, or whatever. They're having to do their own recognition, and that's hard and not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
And being your own cheerleader is not fun. So be the cheerleader, but do it to where everybody else can see it, and it will be far more valuable than what we're used to, which is just, oh, let me send a DM, or let me text them or call them real quick, right? And so that's
great. That's great advice, because you guys, some of you know my story and know that I have a sponsor that has not paid any attention to me whatsoever. And it's very rare when I get a phone call. When I do, she wants me to go do something for her. And it's like, no, it's like, you promised to give me the leg up when I got here and didn't. And now you want me to go sit on your houses. You know, it's like, no, I just, she's not going about it the right way. I think over the course of the 4.5 years that I've been here, she's called me maybe 5 times.
Wow.
And it's not the way to do it. If I wasn't who I am, I would have left EXP in the first year. But I knew what EXP had to offer, and I stayed because of it. And I just got pushback from, from a couple other people, and I just decided, you know what? I don't care. This is who I am. This company is who I am, and who is in my organization is going to be treated differently than I was. Because you're right. Everybody that is in my line is because of me, but everybody in my downline on all the other levels is, guess what? Because of me. So if I don't reach out to them, then I'm not doing my job.
That's such a healthy attitude to have, but it's all in your control. Just ignore the person above you and do why you came. Do you.
And you rock, Stacy. She's the reason I'm here. I love that woman. I met her at EXPCon. She is all about helping other people, and I love you.
It's cool. Stacy with the I talking to Stacy with a Y.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and I love that people bring people into our Wake Up Wednesday. The other thing that I have found that works really good is, on a Sunday or a Saturday, just whatever you got on, I don't care what it is, run into an open house real quick. Tell them, hey, I saw your open house. I just wanted to pop in. Sorry, I'm, all frazzled. I got groceries in the car. Just wanted to preview this. And you'd be surprised again. It's making those connections, because other people from their offices aren't coming in necessarily to preview their offices. So I think these are all good reminders on what we can do this year. So what are you guys doing? What's working as far as production wise? How many of you are, Janet, give us an update. What's going on in the vineyard there? And how are you maintaining stuff?
So I would just say that, we're a second and third home market primarily. And there's no such thing as a second home market real estate emergency. And we're a nice to have and not a gotta have. When you're on the mainland, which is Cape Cod or Boston or whatever, you're looking for properties you're thinking about work, you're thinking about school systems, you're thinking about things like that. So it's always a different approach when you're here. The market has been quiet, and a lot of the sellers still want the price that they thought they should have had 2 years ago, and that ship sailed. So I refer to it as there's motivated buyers and then there's motivated sellers or wishful sellers. And so I'm lucky, I close one deal and I cap for the year just because of our price points, but I don't close 10 deals a year. So it's kind of like that.
So what's the conversation that you have? Because no matter where we are in the market, people want the prices 2 years ago on some. So talk to us about, how are you having that conversation? What's that like? And what do you go in prepared with when you know someone really wants to list and gosh, you want that listing, but it's way overpriced? How do you handle that?
I basically try to say, I don't think that's the right price. I understand that's the price that you would like to have. This is what I suggest. If we go in at that price, and if we don't have activity in the first 2 to 3 weeks, that is it. The market is saying the price is not right. And then we're going to have a discussion. There are buyers here. They're ready, willing, and able, but they are only ready, willing, and able to buy something where they see there's a value. And I lost a listing last year because I had to explain to my seller that, her home is a year-round home. She raises her children, she and her husband. And I said, and it's beautiful, but it is not what a second home buyer wants. And we're gonna either have to lower the price or make some serious changes. For example, their yard, the husband is loves to play in the yard. So he had built all these small ponds. Now, small ponds are okay, but somebody that's buying a house and they're going to want to rent it, which is what most of second home buyers do. They buy the house and then they put it for seasonal rentals. They don't want to have to deal with 6 ponds in the yard, plus a pool. And I said, and an aviary. They had an aviary. They have chickens. I mean, you pick it, they had it. And there was no place to, if you were wanting to do lawn games, there was no place to do a lawn game. So I just said, I'm thinking I deal with these people. They're looking, they know that if you have a pool, that's very important to to the renters, but they also want to be able to hang out in a yard with their kids. And there's no yard. It's all ponds or an aviary. And no one likes to smell a chicken coop. So they basically pulled the listing from me, and I know her. She's a very close friend of mine. And I just said, I get it. She went with Compass. The house still hasn't sold.
So at a price, there's always somebody will buy at a certain price. It's just what that price is. And I'm sure we've all had friends that we try to do the right thing with. And there's some things you can't change. Unless you got me on that bulldozer coming to Martha's Vineyard to kind of plow all that dirt back in to close up those ponds. That's a difficult thing. But I believe that the conversations that we have to have, even if we don't have a listing, even if it's like, we need this listing, you got to be honest with everybody.
Yeah.
And you got to be prepared. You have to be educated. You can't just go in and wing it. I love people who just go in and say, okay, I'm going to throw something up on the wall and whatever works. That's not the way you want to be as an agent. What other things are working? Katie, I just spent over a week with you guys. So I was in Kentucky at Sarah Gibson's house with Katie for over a week. And that market there is very interesting. Sarah's not on the call because she is at a convention, but she's freaking on fire. And I think she had like 4 or 5 deals go under contract in 24 hours. But I listen to the way the conversations that she has with the people that she speaks to. She never loses her temper. She always finds a compliment. She's always encouraging. And not everybody is the easiest person, to deal with. So I think the conversations that you have and the way you approach people, obviously, is truly important. So Katie, what's going on in your market? Because what I saw was we're at the average price under 300,000 to mom selling a $1.5 million house. Talk about your market there and how you see your mom becoming like the mayor of the town and what she does. Well, she is. So
she's very, very good at what she does. She's been in our market, I don't know, I think maybe coming up on 14 or 15 years, something like that. And our average price point's like 225, 250. But we're really close to Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake, and homes that are lakefront obviously have a higher price point. But last year she met with some sellers that wanted to sell. This was their second home. They were moving out of state and wanted to list it, I don't know, they wanted to list it at 2 million. She told them, why it wasn't quite at 2 million, but ultimately it was up to the sellers. Well, the home it showed several times. So she listed it last October, maybe October. It was off season for the lake. Sat for several months and finally sold in April with her buyer. So she had both sides of the deal, and it was a long game working with these people. All that to say, that house sold in April, and we send out postcards. We send out just listed postcards, price change, and just sold. And for the lake homes, she bought a high income address list for places in Missouri and Indiana that vacation here at Kentucky Lake. And so they all got those postcards as well. And there's another lake listing that came up that mom got under contract while Peggy was here, but he found her because he looked up agents that sold expensive homes in Kentucky, because there's not a lot of them in this area. There's very few over $1 million. I shouldn't say very few, not many that come up on the market. So looked her up, and she did her whole thing. He's out of state, and convinced him that it's worth, it's probably worth 1.6 if it had a better kitchen. So let's try 1.5. And he was shocked because when they bought it in 2018, he bought it for like $750, $780. So it's nearly doubled in value. She worked a lot on it and worked closely with these sellers, had cleaners come in, clean the whole place top to bottom. Her and Jennifer spent the day staging up there, professional photography, just went over and above. And she got the house under contract in about 12 hours with her buyers. So it's all about, she's very, very good at having these conversations with her sellers. She's not afraid to be honest, but somehow she always does it with a spoon of sugar. And most of the time it goes down easy. And then there's conversations when she gets off the phone and just yells because she's so frustrated, but she doesn't do that to her clients. And it's amazing to see how composed she can stay after dealing with so many different kind of people.
And that, I think, thank you for saying that about her. And I think that everyone on the call is really conscientious about the conversations that they have. And sometimes we have to be reminded because it's frustrating. But are we having those conversations with other agents too? How are we responding to other agents on the other side who don't know what we're doing? And I've heard mom talk to other agents, and she is just as calm and composed with them, and she offers to help them. So are you offering to help other agents? If you see a sign down that's, you guys got wrenches the other day from I think you got a wrench.
Yeah.
Do you have some tools in your car that if you see someone's sign down, can you take a picture of it and then fix it for them and call them and let them know? Think about, we've got to step out and be different. We talk about culture, we talk about community here, but how are you showing up in your realtor community? Are you previewing houses? Are you congratulating agents? Are you stopping maybe to fix a sign, or if somebody's open house sign is blown over, do you go by and go, well, too bad? Or do you pull over and help them? I think this is where, we say, what can we do differently in going into this year? Getting back to some of the basics and kindness. Not everybody is kind out there as other agents. Not everybody is helpful. So if we want to do a step out, if we want to show that we're different, show up a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone. Go see preview those open houses. Pick up the phone. I mean, so what if you haven't talked to someone in 20 years? I'm doing something tomorrow. I don't know whether our board is going to be happy about this or not, but hey, one of my good friends has absolutely got to be at a doctor's appointment with her husband, and she has a broker preview to host. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll open the door and I'll do the broker preview. Well, I have to tell you, you won't believe this, but I'm a little nervous because these are going to be, not that I'm doing someone's broker preview, because I'm going to be seeing agents that I haven't seen in a long time. And I thought, this is exactly what I have been looking for since I don't have a listing, is how to reconnect. And I get to stand there and say hi to them and reconnect as they come in. So whatever you can utilize or help people with, I believe that this is, exactly where we need to be. What are you guys doing? Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say one other thing. Mom's really good at staying involved in our local board, and she's really involved at our state level, but she is constantly educating herself, reading Inman News, and staying in touch with our state broker, reading all kinds of stuff. But people at our local board come to her with questions about the NAR settlement. They come to her with questions about our contracts and our forms. She's not actively recruiting per se. Nothing about EXP ever really comes up, but people are not scared to ask her for help because they know she'll be honest, even when she has to be nice about it. So keeping yourself informed and staying involved is something that is really helpful for her.
Thanks for bringing that up. You're absolutely right. So what can you do? What can you volunteer for? What chair can you go to? Yes.
A question about a comment you made about don't talk about the NAR settlement in your meetings. We have so much information that we're given at EXP. I mean, I told people EXP developed a 2-page document written in English for the buyer to review and sign. And I read the 2-page document, and there was something in there that blew me away. And I was like, what? So I reached out to Holly, and I said, what is this? I'm curious where this come from, because it said the buyer needs to be accompanied by the agent at the first showing. And I'm like, that is not practical. And she said, okay, which version are you looking at? And actually, I went to the World and spoke to a broker, and she said, yeah, this is what it is. And I told her that, and she goes, who was that? I said, sorry, I didn't write down the name. But she said, there's a new version. And I talked about this document in our meeting, and I said, I'm going to follow up with this because this is not practical. And I don't know if NAR is part of the settlement is saying we have to do it. I mean, I said, we have people with little kids going around to the park and then say, oh, there's an open house. If they signed with me, but I didn't go with them. Does that mean I'm out of luck? And she said, no, we fixed that. So it says, ideally, you want to go with your broker now, but not necessary.
So thank
So
you for
if-
bringing it up, and let me clarify it.
Yeah.
Please be educated. Read
Yeah.
the form if you're going to talk about something. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think
I-
if you're regurgitating something directly from our broker, right, then that's different. But if you're just blindly out there talking about something,
Yeah.
and it's your own
That's-
interpretation or whatever,
Yeah, no.
then no,
Yeah.
let's not do that and say we didn't, because that's where the misinformation, exactly like what happened, what you said, that even that broker you went to verify didn't know. And so as long as your information is coming straight from the source, and Holly is obviously the source for us, then you're good, right? But if you're just talking opinions and what you think, like, that's where I think
Right.
we meant,
Thank
you.
don't just go up there and arbitrarily, talk about your opinion,
Right.
or let others talk
Thanks for
about their opinion.
clarifying. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, we
Yeah.
have something to offer that's wonderful.
Yeah, no, if it's from us or from, corporate, then yeah, share, because they're not getting it. I assure you, the RE/MAX convention this year, they did not even discuss, they did not say the word NAR or settlement or DOJ, or there was not one session that discussed anything that was happening. And it
That's
was
so sad.
after all this news came out. And so a lot of these agents are not getting good information from anyone, and they're flying blind. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of opinion versus fact. That being said, like you said, that California Association of Realtors has stopped because they're evaluating the forms. I will be shocked if they don't extend this deadline again.
Oh, of course they
It's
are.
not going to happen we're talking about less than 60 days. Like, there's no way they're going to have their shit together in all 50 states.
Especially if the judge, if the Justice Department is
Right.
now getting involved after months of California Association working on these documents. I mean, there's
Right.
62, not one document, 62 new documents being released.
That's
And-
California. I'm not surprised whatsoever.
Well, that's why. So the other thing I want to point out really quickly is the woman that has been wonderful with me in inviting other people. She's in the middle of a suit, and we were just, because my goal is to not use that group openly as a recruiting event, right?
Mhm.
So I want to selectively speak off the meeting to the people I think will be great. So I don't want the work, because somebody did ask me, is this a soft recruiting event? I said, no. But for you, yes, because we were talking and having coffee. I said, you, I've admired for 30 some years, and, I think you should consider it. But she told me what her deductible was, and she's at Keller Williams. Her deductible on her errors and omission insurance is $35,000. And I went, what? So I'm like, shoot, I don't know what EXPs is. So I went into the world, and hopefully I got the right information. And she said 2,500. So I talked to her. I said, well, wow, we're 10% of yours. She goes, no, mine isn't 25,000. It's 35,000. So I'm like, how? That's a good recruiting event, conversation.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make too, is I don't think a lot of agents realize that they can be named individually in a lawsuit. It's not just the brokerages that are getting charged, guys.
Oh, I know. That's why
That
I'm
was just
incorporated.
that was just the first round of lawsuits in the class action part, was all the big box brokerage names. Now, team leaders, individual teams, and individual agents are being named in much smaller suits, but you're responsible for every single deal. And there's nothing to say that any seller that you've worked with in the last X amount of years, whatever the statute of limitations is, cannot come and bring in a lawsuit to you individually as an agent. Now, obviously your broker has to support you, and you have your E&O, and it is good to know what your deductible or your portion of the deductible will be. But I think a lot of people are running around going, oh, I don't need to know about this. Oh, it doesn't matter what I do, because it's just the brokers that are getting sued. No.
I thought we were getting covered with the settlement, Ashley. We as agents. I mean, Leo said that in his talk.
Oh,
that
Leo
we
said that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I personally know of a team here in Texas that has been named. It's not an EXP team.
Oh, that's different.
They're on their own, but there are definitely, they're allowed, the sellers are allowed to come and sue you individually. Now you're covered because your EXP is probably what he meant under the EXP E&O, but it doesn't mean that you can't be named in a lawsuit.
No, I thought he said we're covered. NAR is covering, if you're part of NAR, you're covered. And if you're in a company that's settled already, you're covered.
I will reach out to the team leader.
I
Sorry,
will reach out to Holly. She
Yeah.
said, let me know if you have any other questions. And I'm like,
yeah. And the other thing too, don't forget, if they can go back to the statute of limitations, what brokerage were you at
Right.
at the time too? Because
I
it's
had
not
my
gonna
own brokerage, so you're scaring me now.
I'm sorry.
don't make it scary, but that's, you know, it is something you need to educate yourself. You need to be prepared. When last week, Sarah gave me a pile of forms, at least this thick. And were they forms that your local association?
They're buyer broker forms from all over the state, from like individual associations throughout the state. She's on the state forms committee, and they have worked, I don't know, for 5-6 months, however long, and had a form to present to our board of directors, and they told them to scrap it and start over. So she's working on that this week too.
I read those forms. I mean, I literally went through and read each line of those forms. Every single area was totally different. So that's the other thing. If you're showing somewhere and it's customary for one form, but it's not customary for another form, is it going to hold up when you cross over into that area? Each single buyer broker form was totally, completely different. So there's a lot coming on here, and this isn't meant to scare you, because like I said, we've got great resources, and I believe that EXP is going to want to, you know, condense it and make it simple. They're not out to complicate things, and we're very lucky that we've got people staying ahead of it. But that's why I was saying, if you were talking about one form in a mastermind and somebody came from somewhere else, they're going to sit there and say, no, you're totally different. This is what ours say. So it makes it a little complicated, but I think that the whole thing here is we've got a great forum to share. We've got a wonderful platform. We've got great resources, great speakers, and we want to make sure that we're bringing our best practices to everyone. And I think the biggest takeaway for me right now is, again, pick up the phone. Just go and pick up the phone. Find out, be curious, compliment somebody, see what other people are doing. And if you have questions or anything, we're all here to support you. Anybody else? I didn't see the whole chat. What did you put?
I put, make sure you talk to an attorney about incorporating yourself. I did that many years ago, and the compliance person at EXP said, oh, that company is not DRE, that company, da-da-da-da. And I said, I already had my conversation when I joined with the broker, and this is what my attorney recommended, because if you're incorporated, the consumer needs to know you're incorporated. And so if I don't put my corporate name, which is what my commissions come to the corporations, they don't come to Samuel Morgan. The consumer needs to know that. And that's my protection to limit my liability. And she had to take it to Ryan, our broker, and he said, no, that's fine if that's what her attorney said. So make sure you have some protection for work, and that you are incorporated if that works for you and your attorney says you should do that. And in your state, of course, we're all different.
Yeah, every state's different on whether you can get paid to an LLC or to a corporation or not.
Right.
And so it just that dictates first what
Right,
that
absolutely.
exposure is.
Yeah.
Samia, does the LLC work in the same way as the incorporation?
No,
I don't think
Okay.
so.
no,
That's
So
where yeah.
you wouldn't get the same level of protection.
I don't think
no,
so.
because LLCs are considered most of the time, unless you have multiple people in the LLC as owners, then an LLC is almost the same as being a sole proprietor. It's called a single member LLC. And so there is still some personal liability and exposure there.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes worth the extra cost and, report filings and things like that you have to do on an annual basis to do corporation, to do an actual C Corp or S Corp. Now, you can take an LLC and convert it to an S Corp or C Corp if you want. And that changes your, filings and responsibilities. But yeah, it's a different level of liability for corporation versus LLC. And that's what's really confusing, because you can have an LLC. It's like, Ashley Galladay, LLC, but it's incorporated. And so that's where you have to know specifically what that is and the difference. So.
And in Texas, we can do it that way as an independent agent?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Well, actually, that's not true. I think they just changed the rule in Texas. I need to go look that up, because used to, you could not get paid to a corporation or an LLC if you were not a licensed broker. So
I think what they changed was for the independent agent to be able to do the LLC and get paid.
Correct.
I don't know if the incorporation part was part of that.
I think it is. It's any business entity is all that it was, is you couldn't get paid to any entity if you were just a sales, sales agent. But if you have your broker's license, you could get paid to a company. And so I think they removed that limitation. And now, even as an individual licensed agent, you can get paid to an LLC or a corporation, period.
Yeah.
So check.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. We're at the top of the hour, a couple minutes over. Thank you so much. No Wake Up
Real-
Wednesday next week. What? Katie?
Real quick, Peggy, Michaela said she does ship across state lines for t-shirts. So I'm going to put her email and phone number in the workplace chat.
Yay.
And she would be
Wonderful.
happy. Yeah, she'd be happy to work with you, Samia, to design some new team shirts.
I'm excited by that.
That's great. Thank you. All right, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye. Have a great 4th of
Thank
July.
you.
See you later.
Happy 4th. Bye, guys.
Bye.